Bryce, hello.
Hello.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Pete's Dragon. Let's cut straight to the point. It's the remake of the classic Disney family movie.
Reimagining.
The reimagining of the classic Disney family movie. Now, talking about that specific movie, I know you were a fan of it. It was one of those awesomely trippy kids' movies from the 70s, mixing like animation and real action. It's like one of those that you kind of expect the makers were, you know...
Hallucinating?
Yeah. When you're like, oh, let's make a movie.
Oh dear. You
Kids
said
are
that,
gonna
not
love
me. Yeah.
But what are your earliest memories of watching that movie? And was there a bit of a kind of fear about reimagining it now?
Well, you know what? It's when I watched the original Pete's Dragon a ton when I was a kid. And I've thought kind of back on it, and I'm like, what was it about that movie that made me need to watch it like twice a day? And I think what it was, like the music was great, you know, and it was touching and all of that, but it was one of the first times that I had seen a live action film with an animated dragon. And so I was like, well, that's a real boy, so that must be a real dragon. Like I didn't, you know, process the fact that, you know, that was just what animation was. And so it was kind of like the ultimate wish fulfillment for me.
There's a huge family theme in the film, obviously between Pete and Elliot and yourselves, and you get the incredible, amazing screen icon that is Robert Redford as your dad. What does he smell like?
I know.
I mean, that's
really
the kind
good.
of...
Really
I just want to sniff him. I bet he smells of endurance or something.
Yeah, and like nature and brilliance and just yeah. Robert Redford is the whole package.
I mean, you have an incredible dad, as it is.
Yeah.
I mean, Ron Howard's one of the most like iconic kind of cinema men, really, of the last 50 years. Cinema men, that's the best I could come up with. But between the two, I mean, there's a toss-up with Ron Howard and Robert Redford. I guess you'd choose your own dad, would you? Or
well, I think that's a difficult decision. What I can say is I'm not attracted to my father.
Thank God.
I'll leave it at
Yet.
that.
And there's a magical theme in the movie as well. I mean, it's almost like Elliot's this imaginary character, like a pretend character. Have you ever had, you know, a pretend made-up friend? And what were they called?
Okay, so I had an imaginary friend for years and years till I was like 11, which is really old. And her name was Bakey Bildred.
You remember her name? That's amazing.
I named my corporation after her. So I have to hear, like I get to hear people all the time being like, okay, so we made a deposit into Bakey. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
She lives.
Yes, she totally lives. I mean, she was the beginning of everything. So she was my best friend, and we would wander off into the woods. And because I grew up in Connecticut. And we would give speeches to our kingdom of fairies. She had this like really epic backstory. And I think in a way, I was kind of a shy kid, and having that friendship was really safe because it was out of my imagination, so everything was on my terms, and sort of created like a foundation for my future friendships. And so I think for some kids, the whole imaginary friend thing, or at least this was the case for me, is something that is can be really meaningful and kind of a part of almost like a milestone, you know?
I think I'd prefer to be an imaginary friend than have one. Because you could wear what you want, you could be nude all the time, comfortable.
That's true, that's definitely true.
That's the dream.
But did you see Inside Out?
I did, actually.
And did you see what happened to the imaginary friend?
Okay, yeah, that was
heartbreaking.
upsetting.
That was like, I cried over that so much. That was so, I'm like gonna get choked up. Anyway,
I'll
let's
give you
move
a
on.
moment. But yeah,
Bryce,
the movie was amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.